Hi, and welcome to Doc Talk. I am Dr. A,
And I'm Dr. Vanburg.
and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about stress and anxiety, right? So, what is stress? What is anxiety, and how do I know the difference? Because usually, when people talk about anxiety, or I struggle with anxiety, or I suffer from anxiety, they're like, I suffer from stress and anxiety, right? So, making the clear distinction between that, because you can be under a lot of stress and not necessarily suffer from an anxiety disorder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a really important distinction to make. How common is it to say something like, oh, I'm anxious about a test? Right?
Or, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. Work has me super stressed out.
Right. So, as we mentioned in some of our other diagnosis videos, part of our goal here is to demystify this whole process. So again, we have out our DSM, our Diagnostic Statistical Manual, and we're just going to walk through what we're thinking when we're interacting with clients and patients to determine, are we looking at anxiety or are we looking at a normative, healthy stress response?
Absolutely. So, recognizing that stress is normal. Stress is part of our survival mechanisms, right? And there are really two different types of stress. So, we've got eustress, which is the good stress. Yes, there is a good stress. And then we've got distress, which is the bad stress, which is the stress that we are thinking of when we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. I've got like 100 emails to get through, right? So, eustress, and how do we know the difference? So, eustress is going to be motivational in nature usually. It's probably that thing that helps you get the project done or the report done. And I think that the key here is that it kind of lights the fire for you to get it going. But it ends, right? So, we might see that high elevation and stress, but once you've done it, once you've presented, turned in the paper, or done the project, we see these stress levels calm down, right? So all of the hormones, all of the issues that we're having, all of that really subsides.
Absolutely.
When we're thinking about distress, this is that negative type of stress that is usually coinciding with problems we might be having at work, problems we might be having at home, feeling overwhelmed, overburdened, really, just like they say, stressed out.
Absolutely. I think one of the hallmarks here is the positive kind of stress does have that productive, maybe sometimes even protective feature, but there's a point at which it can get in your way. And the second that it's in your way, now we're looking at something different, right? Now we're
talking.
Right. Yeah.
So how do we know when we go from kind of that stressed out point to something more, difficult, like an anxiety disorder?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a variety of anxiety disorders. It's not just one.
Right. One of the first things, I think, and this is true pretty much of all diagnostic kind of parameters that we would ever talk about, we want to be looking at timeline first. So what's the difference between being stressed out about a test, for example, where we have that motivational, I'm going to get that grade kind of thing going on, versus something like an anxiety disorder? We're looking at that time frame. So 6 months in this case, right? If we're stressed for longer than that, and it's really kind of chronic and it's looking sort of uniform, that's when we're going to be thinking maybe this is anxiety and not just a stress response.
Absolutely. And I would like to normalize this. Anxiety and anxiety disorders are actually the most commonly reported disorders when we talk about mental health, right? There are millions of people that suffer from this. And this is, going back to as far as like 2019 data, right? So research and statistics shows that anxiety actually is one of the most reported mental health disorders. So normalizing that first and foremost. And there really is a difference between I'm stressed and being constantly worried.
Right.
So let's jump into it, right?
Sure.
How do we know? How do we know the difference, and what has been going on in order to know, maybe I need to get with a provider?
So it's that timeline, and it's this sense of, or this experience of, I cannot control this worry.
Absolutely.
We're noticing that it's showing up a lot, very frequently, and we're noticing that it's maybe about a lot of things. It's not something specific like a presentation or maybe even socializing, right? We're noticing that I'm having this worry about many, many things.
Worrying about the finances, worrying about the dog, worrying about the kids, worrying about, I don't know, all kinds of things.
People's perceptions of me. Did I get that right? Am I going to mess this up, right? It can get really kind of nebulous, right? It touches everything.
Just, also we've heard this kind of topic, oh, I'm a worry wart, right? Because I worry about everything and anything that possibly could happen, right? So that would be an indicator. So really, they find it difficult to control worry, right? The person's going to report difficulty with controlling worry.
And so if I'm having a hard time controlling my worry, what I might notice are things like feeling very restless. It's hard for me to sit still, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's very difficult for me to rest. If I can't be still, I'm probably having a fairly difficult time falling asleep or staying asleep.
Absolutely. Being easily fatigued, you might notice muscles are chronically fatigued. It might feel like you're coming down with the flu, or it might feel like you just had a really gnarly workout and you haven't. So, muscle fatigue.
Yeah, I like that, kind of placing that in the body, noticing that I might actually feel tense.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if my sleep is dysregulated, I'm very likely to not rest, right? So I might be tired all the time.
Difficulty with concentration, or your mind going blank. It might be hard. You might find it difficult to kind of have word retrieval, right? I'm going to that thing, that thing, that thing. Oh, the grocery store, so you might find that you quickly forget what it is that you were trying to get out. So you might stop mid-sentence with somebody.
Absolutely. I hear this a lot, folks coming in saying, my wife says that I don't listen, or my husband says that I'm not listening. And what's happening is I'm having a hard time kind of concentrating and using my attention appropriately because I'm kind of doing something in the background all the time. I'm worried, I'm stressed.
Or I'm not able to concentrate at work. I hear that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So these are the big ones. Can you think of anything else that you tend to hear?
I think that those tend to be it. But one of the important things to note is that at least 3 of these things have to be mentioned, right? So we're looking at, in addition to the person potentially reporting difficulty with controlling worry, at least 3 out of these 6 things have to be, in any order, have to be a problem for the person.
For at least 6 months. And I know we keep coming back to this timepiece, but it's so critical.
It is.
One of the things that we want to do is really normalize human reactions to things like stress. And so really keeping that timeline piece in your mind is critical for distinguishing between the two.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, Dr. A and I happen to be really good at working with folks having some anxiety struggles. So if you have interest in seeking our services for therapy, or you just want to learn more about Anima Mundi, please do check the link in the description box below.
Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And we will catch you all on the next episode. Thanks for joining us.